Today on the Diz List, we discuss our third round of Diz List March Madness.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 90, where we discuss the third set of Diz List March Madness results, continuing on with Epcot.
That's, Epcot's not a lot of rides, or I didn't think so. And then as we went through the bracket, I was like, wow, there's some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
There's some really heavy hitters.
Well, one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah. So right now, you might notice that Rob's voice is a little grindy.
Yeah, I think it's actually, well,
It's not that bad.
just talking regularly, like before we started recording,
Yeah.
it sounded normal, but then once you have headphones on and you can actually like hear yourself,
Yeah.
I sound like I have sandpaper throat.
That's okay. Rob had a show last night, so if he sounds a little different, that's why. It was a great show.
Nick was there too.
Yes.
Nick,
It was
I think
fun.
I think you've been hired last night as our merch guy.
Hey, I sold some stuff.
You
I
did?
sold some stuff.
Yeah.
So while I was at that show, I get this message from my cousin, and we're not close. Like we don't see each other often. I see her when I'm home.
We have
occasionally.
You have a ton of cousins.
I do. And so this message says, "Hey, just booked an impromptu trip going to Disney in July." Tells me the day, and it's like 3 days before I'm going to be there, and then tells me that they're staying at the same resort I'm staying at. I'm like, what are the chances? So that's pretty cool. I'm going to have to go all the way to Orlando, Florida to spend some time with my cousin that I grew up with.
My only
always.
similar story to that is when we went with you.
Yeah.
We did the split stay where we stayed with you. Do you remember this one?
Yeah.
So we did a split stay. We stayed at Polynesian with Nick and his family, and then just because I wanted to, and I want to try out all the resorts, we went over to Port Orleans, and my son has a friend, and I don't know, somehow through social media he says to me, "Hey, so and so is here," and I went, "Oh, what's so and so doing here?" And he said, "Oh, they're in Disney too," and I went, "Oh, cool. Where are they staying?" He says, "Oh, well, I'll text her and find out," and pauses for a minute. He looks at me, and I go, "What?" He goes, "They're staying at Port Orleans." I said, "We are staying at Port Orleans. Are they here right now?" He texts again. "Yeah, they're here right now." So it turns out that so-and-so's mother is a coworker of ours who also teaches at our school, whose number I have and I'm friends with. And so I texted her and I said, "Hey, I think we're at the same resort." And she was like, "No way." So she goes, "What are you doing later tonight?" I said, "Nothing." She goes, "Neither are we." She goes, "Let's meet up." So our families met up, and we met up over at the pool, and we had a couple cocktails, and the kids swam around, and it was just one of those crazy coincidences.
Yeah. I was so shocked when she told me, because I know that she loves Disney, but it's been a while since they've gone. Their kids are, oh man, I want to say her oldest is going to be a junior, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong there. He's definitely in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And her youngest is in middle school. I want to say 8th grade. But I'm probably totally wrong with this because I don't see my family as much as I used to now that I'm living down here.
I forget my own kids' ages sometimes. It's okay.
So she says...
I know what grades they're in.
Right, yeah. So she says to me that her husband would like to ask me some questions probably because, it's been 5 years since they've been. And, when you hear, it's only been 5 years.
Only 5?
Right. But at Disney, 5 years is a lifetime.
Yeah.
You figured that's 5 years is 2019.
Mm-hmm.
When I went in 2019, we were booking fast passes.
Yeah.
And you were booking them 90 days out. And you were booking your dining reservations 180 days out or whatever it was, or vice versa. I can't remember it's been so long. I don't remember what that was like, but it's changed. So like the whole discussion about like lightning lane and individual lightning lane and virtual queue, those things didn't exist in 2019. Disney is not at all the same now compared to 2019. Not in a bad way necessarily.
No. My go-to, and I'm going to have to do this again before we go in August, is I go to Ear Scouts, Rob and Eric.
I know what you're saying.
And the guy could be a teacher.
He should be, yeah.
For real. Like, from two teachers.
Yeah.
Like, after watching those videos, and the best part about it, and Rob, if you're listening, this is huge, especially from two teachers, is having a visual.
Yeah.
So he'll split screen and he'll show like scrolling on his phone and what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's the kicker right there. Not just talking about it, showing it.
Yeah,
that is huge from the education perspective.
The night before we booked our first virtual queue, that we literally were like sitting there and watched a redo that Rob had done, and we're like, okay. And this was before we knew Rob, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that was, we had just started the podcast. We released our first episode while we were on our trip,
right?
So we didn't even know Rob, and we were watching that video like about the virtual queue stuff, and like, because you don't want to miss that. You want to make sure you get it. So yeah, I replied to her that, ask all the questions you want. Just be prepared to get a text back that'll look like a CVS receipt, because it's gonna be lengthy.
Yep.
But I thought that was so cool that, like, it's just, you don't think of running into your family who you never, like, I never see her, not in a bad way, like, not because I don't want to, just because I'm not up there. I'm not where I grew up, and so I rarely see her. I mean, this is somebody who, we spent every single holiday as an extended family together. So, it was like Christmas time, you're going down to grandma's and you're going to hang out with your cousins. And she's only a couple years older than me. So we were close. And
your family is so big, you have to rent out a VFW hall just to have a family party.
No, you just get really, really cozy at grandma's. Let me tell you, when there's, 12 aunts and uncles and all of their children involved, it gets pretty cozy. But yeah, so I'm excited for this. It's going to be a fun trip, and I was like, my brother's going too, so like it's going to be kind of like a little family reunion down in Disney.
Oh, that's true. So, I forgot you're going down with your brother and sister-in-law.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun time. Any news come out of Disney this week that you can think of?
I'm just very excited about everything that's happening with Tiana's, and it just keeps looking so better and better.
It looks so good.
And I was on a social media account, and there was a funny meme about, I don't know if it's from Goodfellas or what it is, but it's Joe Pesci, and I can't even say it on air because this is a family show, and Joe Pesci walks around and basically says, I'm going to paraphrase, what the heck happened to this joint, or what the heck happened here? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So people use this little clip on like TikTok or whatever else to show something that is like totally destroyed or totally wrong or not good. And I posted on it, and they used that on Tiana's, and I was like, I completely disagree with you. Like, this looks so cool.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's different than what they did with the whole Splash Mountain thing.
Yeah.
But I just love how it's transforming. It's completely different, but I don't have a vote. There's a news outlet I watch on YouTube where this gentleman thinks he gets all mad and thinks he has control over what's happening with Disney.
Oh, yeah.
You got to let go of the reins and just enjoy the ride, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is that people take it personally.
Yeah.
And it's like, the ride's not changing really. The ride itself. The experience is changing, but
it's like an overlay.
Yeah, and if those same people will complain when stuff gets stale.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what do you want? Like, I don't know. So I will say I agree with you. Some of the pictures have been coming out this week. I've been like, oh, and that's why I'm saying I'm saying that it is a lot further along than they're letting on.
Yep.
I really believe that. They didn't have to. It's not like Guardians where they had to build the ride. It's not like Tron where you had to build the ride. It's literally, like you said, essentially just an overlay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a permanent overlay.
Like, you're coming in and you're replacing stuff. But like, that outside, the transformation they've done on the outside, I can't wait to see the inside.
It's cool. I think
very cool.
You know what it's the best comparison to is Frozen?
Yeah.
When they had, when there was Maelstrom, And Maelstrom was great. I enjoyed Maelstrom, but they decided to make a change, and it's essentially the same ride on the inside.
Yeah,
For the most part, same boats, same track, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's what I think they're going to do also with
I'm
Tiana,
also
right?
excited for like what's going to happen in that area, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, if it becomes New Orleans Square, I don't think that'll be too hard to do.
No, I don't
They
think
can
so.
kind of change the facade of the buildings to have balcony on the top, like the wrought iron balconies on the top and bottom, which is very indicative of that style of New Orleans and Louisiana. Very, French
Yeah.
looking.
And they could just expand behind Big Thunder and make that Cars Land.
I hope.
Yeah, I know.
It was awesome. Cars Land is just awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do.
All I know is I'm really looking forward to some announcements coming from Disney. They did announce something this week that's for DVC folks. So those of you who are DVC people and listen to us, one thing I think that is big news in that world, but Rob wouldn't even realize it.
No, but I'm interested.
They stopped selling Polynesian points. So Polynesian is a sold out resort, but that doesn't mean you can't buy it. I know that sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
So
I'll be honest, it's confusing.
It's sold out, meaning they've sold all the points they had, but that doesn't mean they don't also have points that they've bought back.
The right of first refusal.
Yes,
I remember that.
And so they halted sales, which is usually a sign that they're coming up on the time that they're going to start the new sales of the new Poly Tower. So my guess, if I were going to put a date on it, I would say probably in the next 2 months is when the sales will start. I mean, they say it's going to be open by the end of the year, so they kind of have to start selling soon. But we'll see. I don't know.
I think at some point we could do a show where we kind of speculate what we think is going to happen here, or the big announcements in August. And my point here is that I'm thinking of the new Polynesian Tower.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, from about the TTC over, I think it's now, all of that real estate is now filled with hotel rooms all the way, I guess, to the far end of the Grand Floridian. That's a big chunk, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's the only spot from the TTC and in that direction. The only spot that does not have hotel rooms is along the walking path from the Grand Flow.
Do you see where I'm going here?
Yeah, I don't know how they could do it though, because there's a waterway right there. I know what you're saying. Can they build there?
Well, I'm curious if you think within the next 10 years that, I'm not saying the entire, it's Bay Lake, right?
Yeah.
No, Bay Lake. Okay.
Well, no, that's
Bay Lake is behind it.
correct.
What is it? It's not Seven Seas Lagoon.
Seven Seas Lagoon.
Do you think from the far right end, if you're in the water, let's say you're at Magic Kingdom and we're saying far right end of Grand Floridian, if they would develop from there all the way to close to the edge of Magic Kingdom? I don't think they would go all the way, but
I mean, there's no reason they couldn't. I don't think we're gonna see a new build construction, at least not in the DVC world. I don't think you're gonna see a new build construction for a while.
Okay.
Like what they did with Poly. I think that they've realized now they can just like convert old buildings, and because we're coming up on the end of the first round of DVC buildings, like the 2042 resorts, so like Bay Lake Tower, or not Bay Lake Tower, Boulder Ridge and Old Key West, and man, why am I blanking?
not Copper Creek. Copper Creek was separate.
Beach Club and Boardwalk.
Right. See, you know all this stuff.
Those places are coming up on their expiration, so I think what you're going to see is they'll start doing stuff more with either adding on or just re-theming an already existing resort that's about ready to expire and reselling it. So that's my thought. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what those, what lies ahead for DVC. But I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, because if people do listen to us for some news or DVC stuff, that is a very big thing in the DVC world right now. So.
And if you have DVC questions, message our account. Nick checks it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to head off to the halftime show. Nick, do you have anybody who has brought us the halftime show today?
Of course, we have a patron of the day. Melissa B., thank you very much for your support over the last few months. We really appreciate it. But we're going to head off to the halftime show, and we'll see you when we get back. Welcome back. Today we're going to look at the results from the Epcot side of the bracket in our March Madness. This was interesting, I would say.
Yeah. I think they all were in their own way, but
there's some big hitters at Epcot. Like, we've got like Guardians and Remy and, not Living with the Land, although that's a big hitter for me. Frozen Ever After. Test Track. I mean, these are like rides that people don't ever want to miss.
Yeah.
So we're gonna jump right in with two quick ones. Right at the top of the bracket, we had Guardians matched up with Mazzaritza, which,
well, I'm gonna guess that a good chunk of the people were like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah. So. First off, I think we all know how this went. 95-5, Guardians beat it.
Yeah.
So Epcot doesn't have a ton of rides. So I mean, there's a lot of different attractions and things to do.
Yeah.
But that's why, we didn't have a bunch of rides. Kind of like Animal Kingdom last week.
And that's fine though. I mean, it's if it's something at the park, we're gonna rank them and put them against each other. I mean, you could have something that's a show or a meet and greet win the entire thing, and that's kind of how it goes. It's like in basketball's March Madness, you have they called a Cinderella team, where you have a team that doesn't have a chance to win. Baylor, or wasn't Baylor that one year?
Yeah,
I don't want to turn it into a sports podcast, but
yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Okay,
yeah. So Mazzaritza, for those of you who don't know, is a female musician who plays like this drum.
Okay, it's not matzo ball pizza.
No.
Oh, okay.
They're called taiko drums, and that's at Japan.
Yeah,
and it's pretty cool. I love that show.
Me too.
Love to stand and just listen and like watch that show. And I mean, I love World Showcase, but I mean, Guardians, duh.
Yeah.
And then the next one is also an equally, like, to me. Maybe this one's a little bit more shocking that it was this lopsided.
I am actually surprised by this one.
Yeah. Soarin versus Luminous.
Well, especially with Soarin, there's a pretty hefty chunk of Soarin haters these days because everyone loves making fun of the bent Eiffel Tower.
Right.
Because if you watch Soarin, well, I guess you ride Soarin, quote unquote, if you're in the far left or the far right, the screen...
You don't even have to be far.
The screen has... What is it? We'll say a contour, a convex, concave. I'm asking the math guy here.
It's concave.
Concave. And based on where you're sitting, you're not going to see a totally straight 90-degree angle.
Yeah, unless you're sitting in the middle of the middle. You're probably going to get a less than perfect experience.
So it's kind of become a joke at this point that everybody makes fun of the bent Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
So 94-6.
Yeah, not real shocked,
no.
But I am a little bit. I wonder if this would be different if it had been like Epcot Forever, or if it had been like not ever. Like I haven't seen Luminous yet,
no.
So I don't know. Maybe it's the best thing ever. Maybe it's absolutely horrible. Who knows? But those were pretty lopsided. Now here's one that's not quite as lopsided, but I was expecting this to be completely blowout.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I mean, it's still a blowout, but not as bad as I thought.
Right.
Frozen Ever After versus Turtle Talk with Crush. 80 Frozen Ever After, 20 Turtle Talk.
Both are fan favorites for the younger crowd.
Well, so here's my thing. When these got matched up, I thought, well, these are both for the same groups. This isn't like Luminous and Soarin. This isn't like Mazzaritza versus Guardians. This is like for like, right? Yeah. The people who go to Turtle Talk with Crush also go on Frozen.
Well, and you don't have too many 8-year-olds voting on this. I'm sure some families are doing it together and
Right,
say, hey,
but-
sweetie, come on, we're going to vote in the Diz List brackets. But I would say for the most part, if you have I don't want to say it, well, I guess probably safe to say teens and up are probably voting Frozen because it's a more exciting.
But
I don't know.
I guess my point is that I thought that given the two, right, they're like for like. So you're not getting people who are, okay, I don't like thrill rides, so I'm voting for Mazzarizza.
Sure.
You're getting, I like kids rides, so I'm going to vote for the better kid ride.
Mm-hmm.
And the better kid ride is Frozen Ever After.
Yeah.
But Turtle Talk with Crush is a good time.
It is.
It's a lot of fun.
It's very funny.
They have just the right amount of that, like, adult humor. Not adult humor, that's the wrong word.
Yeah.
But, like, they will say things that are, like, tongue-in-cheek that, like...
Kids will laugh but don't quite get it.
And the adults in the room get it.
Yeah.
And it's not, like, off-color or anything. It's just funny.
Disney does a good job with that, too.
Yeah.
And so do a lot of the other companies.
Living with the Land and Journey of Water.
I am surprised by this. And I know you love Living with the Land, but I'm saying I'm surprised Journey of Water didn't get more votes, but now that I'm saying that out loud, personally, and I know you're in this boat too, we haven't experienced it yet.
No.
And I know that one's your favorite, but from what I've seen of Journey of Water, it looks awesome. And if I were to...
When it works, yeah.
If I were to vote now, and I did, I voted for Living with the Land only because I was familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Living with the Land has a cult following, right? I mean, it's never going to be somebody saying, like, oh my gosh, you have to go, right? Like, I'm never going to say, if somebody asks me for advice about Epcot, you need to do Living with the Land. But if they're really a deep dive Disney person, then I might talk to them about, like, oh yeah, I love that. It's one of my favorites. Like, it's just got that cult following. Just like, think of a movie that you like that nobody else likes, or the people who do like it just absolutely love it, but like it's not something you would recommend to your friend group.
I look at Epcot like, and I'm not really referencing Guardians of the Galaxy here, but a mixtape. They have the Guardians of the Galaxy mixtape.
Yeah.
If you look at Epcot and you're making a mixtape in the 90s and you have sort of peaks and valleys and you want to put a variety, unless it's like my workout mix and then it's all like workout music or whatever, but you have Living with the Land, which is there's your slow song. You need that. And then after that you walk across and you do Test Track and there's that flavor, and then you can do Frozen, and then you can do Guardians, and then you do Spaceship Earth. So you see what I mean? It's a nice mix in Epcot.
It's probably a big part of the reason why I consider Epcot my favorite park.
Yeah.
And that, there's something for everyone there, right? And this is a perfect example of that, where you've got, and now I also think this is a situation where we matched up like for like slower paced activities, right? Because Journey with Water is obviously a walking, like a walk-through attraction.
Yep.
And
both nature based.
Yep. And then you've got the Living with the Land, which is clearly not walk through, but like you're slowly floating through the greenhouses. I just think that the reason that the votes came out the way they did is because it does have a cult following, and people who would follow a Disney themed Instagram account and listen along to a Disney themed podcast, I feel like the population is a little bit different than the average Joe.
Yep.
And that's probably why it ended up the way it did. But I was happy to see Living with the Land move on, as were a couple of our listeners who reached out and said, if Living with the Land loses, I'm going to be so mad. Next up was Remy's versus Voices of Liberty.
Did this
No,
it did not get the lowest number.
So you're laughing, right? So our friends from Rope Drop and Park Hop, when this popped up, they replied to our story with just the like rolling, crying, laughing emoji. Like, and I said, it is what it is. This is how it played out. This is how it played out.
We didn't set these up. I mean,
I didn't go through and say, let's make this crazy looking thing.
No, I mean, the short stories is you and I
ranked them.
We ranked them, and then we did top versus bottom, and from there
worked our way in. Yeah. But like
1 versus 12,
Yeah.
2 versus 11.
have you ever seen Voice of Liberty?
Yes, I
It's
have.
so good.
Yes, it's great.
So we were there when we did it this summer. After the show, like the singers will mill about and talk to people, and the lady was talking to my kids and said, "Oh, where are you from?" and blah blah blah. Oh, up near Rochester. Oh, I have family in Rochester. It was like so cool, like
Weird.
just this personal connection that they were making. It is amazing, and the acoustics in that atrium are just amazing.
It is.
So, I love it, and I did want to give them a shout out because they did go down. They lost 91-9.
Well, and again,
to
it's not
Remy's.
a bad thing. You're just going up against, in my opinion, one of the top 10 best in the park right now. Or not the park,
Parks
in Disney
plural.
World.
Yeah.
In Disney World in
Yeah.
general.
I don't think you're wrong there. This next one, Test Track versus Jameters, again was a weird matchup.
Well-
But the first round, these matchups are like this: Test Track 83, Jameters 17. They did better than I thought they would. Have you seen the Jameters?
Yes.
I love it. I think they're
Yeah.
great. I love like those. Now it's cooler when it's impromptu and like you're in a city and somebody's doing it. But I think it's cool when people are using different things as instruments. So I love it.
I would enjoy doing that job.
Hell yeah,
That'd be fun.
yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
I mean, I'm not that great of a drummer. I can play the drums. That's not what I do in the band.
Well,
but
you just play the trash cans.
yeah,
It's okay. You
Well,
don't care.
I mean, you have to have like impeccable sense of rhythm.
Yeah, no, they're remarkably good. But Test Track definitely won out 83-17. Test Track, when you start looking at these rides, it's like, wow, there's some like really good rides. And you just forget about them.
I was watching a Epcot video today, Tim Tracker, and he was going on it with his son. And as he's going through it,
Went on Test Track with his son.
yeah,
He's
And-
tall enough.
yeah, and so the doors open and they go outside for the the part where they go.
Yeah, the fast part.
Yeah, and it was raining.
Oh no.
But it wasn't the I call it the evil rain. The evil
yeah,
rain
yeah.
that hurts.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't. It was kind of sprinkling, and they were laughing and enjoying it. But I wonder if there's any listeners who have experienced Test Track during the evil rain. So what I mean by evil rain is
They usually shut it down if it gets like that, though.
if there's sometimes that evil rain only lasts like 5 minutes on probably 4:00 in July, right?
Yeah, but they still will shut it down for an hour.
Okay.
Usually right after Usually if you're with me, it's right after I design the car. Usually.
I wonder what that feels like with the rain coming down so hard, and then you are just.
I mean, you're going 60 miles an hour. I
Yeah.
don't think it matters if it's coming down hard or not. It's hitting you in the
Yeah.
face. That's got to hurt. I don't know.
Anyway, I'm getting off track here, but I thought of that today when I watched
Yeah.
that video about what that would be like with Test Track in the rain. So Test Track 83, Jameters 17.
This next one, the number. So I had multiple listeners reach out.
This is. I would.
They were like,
"How
how can you do this to me?"
Well,
That's what, and
it's a hard one to pick.
so one of our patrons reached out and was like, I was at school. I had posted these, and I get this message alert. And so my next free period, I pull out my phone and I look, and it was like, I can't believe you're making me do this again, because they were upset last week that they had to switch, pick between two things, and then they were like really not happy. Spaceship Earth versus Grand Fiesta Tour.
This is another one where let's have the listeners say out loud who you think is going to win. Okay, we'll read them again for you: Grand Fiesta Tour or Spaceship Earth. Say it out loud. Okay. Now, Nick,
The
who won
winner
it?
is Spaceship Earth.
How close was it?
6 percentage points, 53 to 47. And I believe if I went back and looked, I would have to take a little bit. It's probably 10 votes.
So I think this is one of the ones, just like the previous weeks, where when I say the way I voted, we're going to cancel each other out.
Maybe.
I picked Spaceship Earth.
Okay.
You pick Grand Fiesta
No,
Tour.
I picked
Really?
I picked Spaceship Earth.
Okay.
I love Spaceship Earth.
I do too.
I know my son voted for Grand Fiesta Tour.
Yeah.
It's one of his favorites. Funny story. During 2021, when they had all those plexiglass things and whatever,
Yeah.
we went on Grand Fiesta Tour and we're walking off, and my son somehow got his elbow stuck between, like the handle thing. He was like, he shouldn't have been because it was COVID, right? So he was using the handrail, and his elbow like dipped and got stuck.
Jeez.
We had to like manipulate his arm to get it back out. He was like, I was like, that's it, bud. I guess you're stuck on the queue, the exit queue for a Grand Fiesta Tour. You and Donald. But yeah, I love both those rides. That was a hard one for me, but I love Spaceship Earth just a smidge more, and it won 53-47. So apparently, so do our listeners.
Well, this next one, I feel like we can have people guess too, because this one was also close.
It was pretty close, yeah. Seas with Nemo and Friends, and Journey into Imagination.
Both are, well,
what?
Imagination definitely needs an upgrade, but Seas with Nemo and Friends, I don't know. Okay, listeners, here we go. Say it out loud. Seas with Nemo and Friends or Journey into Imagination. Say it. Okay. All right, Nick, who won this round?
Seas with Nemo and Friends. And they, in my opinion, got it right. Because
60-40.
60-40, because Journey into Imagination is a sad state of affairs right now.
I know. I get messages all the time from Eric from Ear Scouts just making fun of me and my reason I love Figment. But I told Eric, I was messaging with him the other day, I said, it's such a nostalgia thing for me where I just loved Figment in the 80s. And it was such a cool ride then. But it's, I don't know. We'll have an episode on this, but I will be shocked if they don't make an announcement that they are going to do something with Journey into Imagination with this next update. But, you know, I've also heard rumors that they're ignoring that park because plenty has been done to it. But
look, man,
I know.
I love me some Figment, but that ride is beat. It is beat.
But it's not, if they would have just left it the way it was at the beginning, because so many rides, you know, they made some updates to Spaceship Earth and Living with the Land, but if they were to just keep that classic version of it, I think that would have been just fine still.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree. However,
it's just dated.
Yes. Yeah. It's bad.
But I don't feel like a lot of the rides are dated that are old.
Look,
Peter Pan's not dated.
No. But there's
a difference between dated and classic.
True. But this is not based on classic IP.
No, I know.
This is based on an in-park IP creation.
Yeah.
And who the hell's Eric Idle to kids these days?
Yeah, they don't know him from anything anymore.
Like, you know, people who think Patrick Warburton is just solely the guy from Soarin'.
And
you know what I mean?
And not the guy from Seinfeld or any of his other things that he's done.
Look, I love Seas with Nemo and Friends, especially because I love aquariums. And so it's kind of a cool like mixture of a ride and an aquarium. They do a great job.
I think I can't remember, but I think I picked Nemo. If I don't remember, then it means it was a hard one for me too.
Yeah. I mean, I like Journey into Imagination, but given the choice between these two, I'm going to pick Seas with Nemo and Friends every time.
Well, now these matchups are going to get a little interesting. So that was the first, I don't know, call it first round, first bracket here.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be the first of our winners bracket.
This is the Elite 8 of Epcot, and holy cow! I'm just going to read down through all the ones that are left. Okay, Cosmic Rewind, Soarin', Frozen Ever After, Living with the Land, Remy's, Test Track, Spaceship Earth, Seas with Nemo and Friends.
Yeah, and that's probably how it should have.
You can argue that the only one there that's not like a mainstay, not a must-do, is Seas with Nemo and Friends. Everything else is like, you better do that.
Well, people could argue Living with the Land, but...
shut up.
Well, I mean, they're similar.
I know.
Yeah.
So let's start with a very tough one. Cosmic Rewind versus Soarin'.
Yeah.
I think this is tough because it's like the new versus the classic.
Yeah.
And recency bias being what it is, new won, and I think that they were right. 72-28, Cosmic Rewind over Soarin'.
And again, I wonder how many people haven't done Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah.
It's hard to vote for something like with Moana. I haven't done it yet. Or Tron. Haven't done it yet.
It could have been even wider gap. This next, I do want to say about Soarin' real quick. I feel like they could easily update that video without having to update the theater by not
Yeah.
doing things that are supposed to be tall and straight.
Well,
Like you don't notice it as much in the mountain section.
I think the easiest thing to do, and I just think this is the easiest, quickest fix. Make it like Star Tours, where there's a shuffle of different places that or different scenes. So one time when you ride Soarin', you're seeing these 10 locations. Next time, it's these 10 locations. So they have, well, let's say,
Rewritability.
Right. There's 20 different videos. I know that's a huge number, but I don't know what they have for Star Tours. 20 different videos. Go out, shoot the footage. It makes rewritability so much more. It brings so many more people to that
I'll do
ride.
you one further.
Yeah.
They don't have to do 20. Do 5 or so. Well, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you do them all with Adventures by Disney locations.
Disney, yeah.
No.
So it's an advertisement for the Disney travel company.
Right. The Adventures by Disney stuff
Yeah.
that they do, where they do like, they have ones that go on safari. They have ones that go on, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's an advertisement. I mean, heck, Test Track, they sell you a car at the end. They can definitely sell me a vacation at the end of Soarin'.
You bought a truck there one
Yeah,
time, right?
I did,
You bought the Carhartt edition truck? Is that what you bought?
No.
Wait, that was your brother who bought that.
Yeah, but not at the park.
Okay.
It's a sweet truck. Trust me.
No, I'm not making fun of the truck.
Yeah.
I just thought you bought it there or something.
No, yeah. They tried to sell it to me. Next one was Frozen Ever After with Living with the Land. So I knew that I shouldn't say I knew. I suspected Living with the Land was going to get through the first round. I did not expect this to be this close.
Well, our listeners like it. Our listeners agree with you.
Frozen Ever After, 59. Living with the Land, 41.
Yeah, and
That's way closer than I thought it would be. Way closer.
I like to do the say it out loud, have everybody vote at home, but I don't think many people would have predicted it was this close. So if I were to say vote at home, I don't think a lot of people would have guessed that one.
No, I don't think so either. We've talked about Living with the Land. We don't need to go on and on about that, about how much I love it.
But that result makes sense.
Yes, it does. Here's what I will tell you. I'm glad it made it through the first round. I'm also glad that it lost to Frozen because Frozen deserved to win. By the way, little plug, $35 to $40 Behind the Seeds tour. Best $35 to $40 you're going to spend in Epcot.
That's cool. Anything kind of backstage is always intriguing to me.
It was so much fun. Remy's versus Test Track. I was actually shocked at this result.
Really?
Yes.
I wasn't.
Really?
Yeah.
People love some Test Track, and Test Track lost 70-30 to Remy's.
I'm going to go to the fact that it breaks down a lot, and there's a lot of issues with Test Track.
That's very true. You're 100% right.
And Remy's is a shiny new truck, so just because we're using that reference. Remy's is new. It's fun. It's clean currently.
It's a long wait, man.
But Test Track is great too. You're flying full speed outside.
Yeah.
There's interactive elements. It's a great ride, but the shiny new toy is the winner.
I'm not saying that they got it wrong. I'm not either. I'm just saying I was shocked that it was not closer.
I think this was right.
And then the next one, this to me is a no-brainer. Spaceship Earth versus Seas with Nemo and Friends.
Yeah.
I mean, Spaceship Earth wins 74-26. I want to know who the 26% were. What I want to hear, because this worked really well. Last week we asked people to reach out and talk to us about why they voted the way they did at Animal Kingdom. I want to hear why you picked Seas with Nemo and Friends over Spaceship Earth. I'm not saying you're wrong, because I love Seas with Nemo and Friends. I want to know what about Spaceship Earth do you not enjoy enough that Seas with Nemo and Friends is better?
I can tell you one.
Yeah,
and I voted Spaceship Earth, but I'm going to predict that you're going to get some messages that it's better for kids.
Yeah, okay.
Because Spaceship Earth is very much history. It's very, it can be stale to kids.
I mean, it's stale. It is stale.
It
ends with Steve Jobs and Bob Woj and whatever.
It ends with a giant clunk.
Right, but I'm saying
it ends without an ending. It's one of those movies that doesn't have a conclusion. It's like you go from the Apple garage, right?
Yeah.
And then you go into a dark room, and then you're like, that's it?
Yeah. And then, I just wish they would update it, honestly. But
But I think it's when it comes to families and kids, you're going to get votes because it's fun. Nemo.
I guess I answered my own question.
Cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that left us with a final four of some pretty ridiculously good rides.
This is what I would have guessed. The final four would
100%. I think like if last week there was somewhere I was like, no, you got that wrong. This week the listeners got it 100% correct.
I think the only thing I could see being in this top four that isn't would be Soarin', maybe.
Yeah. So Cosmic Rewind, Frozen, Remy's, and Spaceship Earth. Yeah. Those are the top four.
Yeah.
I do think that I could see, if it was lined up differently, I could see Soarin' beating out Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
Instead of Soarin' losing, earlier on to Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah. Test Track could have been in there instead of Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
But this is fine.
Yeah.
I get it.
So Cosmic Rewind matched up with Frozen.
Yep.
Frozen Ever After. We have said multiple times that Cosmic Rewind is one of our favorites, if not our absolute favorite at Disney World. Cosmic Rewind, 84 to Frozen Ever After, 16.
Yep.
As great a ride as Frozen is,
and those animatronics are dynamite, fantastic singing.
As great of a ride as that is, Guardians of the Galaxy is just the best.
Yes.
I mean,
I completely agree with you.
Like, when you read down this list, you're like, wow, that's a who's who. But look, I think last week we talked about the 1993 Bulls.
Yeah.
That's straight up like, look, Guardians isn't even the 93 Bulls. It's the 93 All-Star team.
Right.
It's like the dream team.
My
friend's
mother is down in Disney right now. And she's one of those ladies who, posts everything on Facebook.
Okay.
Nice lady. And she went with her husband for their anniversary trip, just the two of them. And she puts a post on Facebook the other day saying, Flight of Passage, best ride in the history of rides, best ride ever. And I wrote back and I just said, have you done Cosmic Rewind yet? She says, what's Cosmic Rewind?
Yeah. 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 If you
think give that one a shot. It's over at Epcot.
Yeah. If you think Flight of Passage is good,
yeah,
wait till you jump on Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not shocked that Cosmic Rewind won because it's that good.
Yeah.
But Frozen Ever After is a remarkable ride. It's just not nearly as good as Cosmic Rewind. And the next one, Remy's versus Spaceship Earth. I'm actually kind of shocked. I think this is a situation of people not having ridden Remy's.
Yeah.
So Remy
could be.
Remy got 70% to Spaceship Earth's 30. And I'm convinced that if everybody had ridden Remy's, nobody would pick Spaceship Earth over Remy.
What if you could do a poll
yeah.
On Instagram that so let's say you go to choose and it says Remy's and it says Spaceship Earth. And then there's a sub question based on how you answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see what I'm getting at?
A follow-up.
The follow-up is, if you pick Spaceship Earth, it immediately goes to a different sub question that says, well, have you ridden Remy?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Sub question. Then that gives us additional data that helps us with these numbers.
I'm so excited that we got this at our park, right? Because I was, you never know. They had it in France, and you're like, okay, Disneyland Paris has it. Are we going to get it? And then when we got it, and it went into the France pavilion, it instantly makes sense. It's a wonderful addition. People can complain about IP and Epcot, blah, 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 all they want. I don't care. Look, Remy first off, that movie is remarkable. I love that movie. As a food
guy, yeah.
As a foodie, I love that movie. I think it's a very well done movie. But that ride, let's not even, the queue, the freaking queue, man. Like, you're walking and you're all of a sudden, okay, now I'm a rat. I'm like, this is so cool.
There is a great photo of Nick and I.
Yes.
That, I don't know, one of our wives took. of the two of us with the 3D glasses with the biggest smiles on our face riding in the little rat car, and we are pumped.
Yes.
That's a great picture.
I don't think I've smiled so hard until about 30 seconds later when we walked our way over to Cosmic Rewind.
Yep.
No,
and then afterward we said, I'm glad we did those rides in that order.
Yeah. Because for about 5 minutes, Remy's was the best
ride ever.
Yep.
and then we rode
Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah.
So
that's not necessarily what our voters are going to choose. I mean, we're going to see here. Let's see how this plays out.
So our voters like new shiny things very clearly because the championship round was Cosmic Rewind versus Remy's Ratatouille Adventure.
Yeah. And let's go back to what I said earlier too, is let's look at the families who are picking these, because maybe you're a parent of two younger kids.
Yeah.
And you didn't get to ride Cosmic Rewind, but you did get to ride Remy's, and that you walked off, like we said, that's the best ride. So again, we're not saying what the numbers are, but I'm trying to set this up as let's look at the demographic.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. There are a number of people who have spoken to me either in my daily life or on Instagram through the podcast who have mentioned that Cosmic Rewind, they know we love it, but they can't do it because it makes them so sick. And I know you got a little bit of motion sickness, but not nearly as bad. Some of these people are like, I was like out of commission.
Wow.
For like hours. And you know what? That's a real thing. That is something that like can make or break your day, ruin your day if that happens. So for some people, this is almost just a small step down from Mission Space.
And this is another instance, like we talked about in the, in the first half of the show, where if you haven't been there in 5 years, you have to learn all this new information. And part of something the average Disney fan is not going to know is, hey, I got to sit in the front or the back, or I got to sit in the middle, or like that's not common knowledge. You're like, how about this cool ride? I'll literally sit anywhere. Then all of a sudden, after the ride, the world's spinning. Like, and the cast members, not that there's anything wrong with it. I love the cast members. I want to say that first. But their job is not to explain that to you before you get on the ride.
No. If you know it and you ask, hey, can I sit somewhere near the middle? Or
they say yes.
Or, hey, I've heard that this might cause motion sickness. Where should I sit?
Yeah.
And they're usually pretty good about it.
Yeah.
So are we ready to reveal?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
do we want people to say it out loud first?
Sure.
Okay. I like playing along like this. If you don't at home, I apologize, but this is fun for me. So we have Cosmic Rewind or Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Say out loud, who do you think won the whole thing? Go. All right, they said it. You heard them. Let's see if they're right.
If you said Cosmic Rewind, raise your hand and pat yourself on the back. You got it right. I do that every once in a while with my students. I'm like,
that's
raise your hand.
I like that.
Or that sometimes I'll fake them out and be like, raise your hand, grab your pencil and erase that answer because you're wrong. Anyway, Cosmic Rewind won, and it was 74-26. If that is not a ringing endorsement, or if that doesn't speak volumes, that in the final round with two amazing rides, because I'm going to tell you, Remy's is an amazing ride, that we have 74% is what it got. That is, to me, speaks volumes about how good of a ride Cosmic Rewind is.
Well, let's go back to last week.
And its rewritability with the music, holy cow.
If we're looking at Animal Kingdom, Flight of Passage won 55-45.
Yep.
So this was, and I accidentally deleted the numbers on Big Thunder versus Haunted Mansion, but you can probably guess. Do you remember off the top of your head? Or was it close?
It was close. It was very close.
That's all I need to know.
It was closer than last week's,
and that's fine. So my point is proven. Is this one seems to be the most decisive thus far,
and it's not because Remy's is bad.
Huh? Not at all. No.
It's because Cosmic Rewind is that good.
You look at the finalists here. So round one, Big Thunder and Haunted Mansion. Which, it could have been a lot of different rides at the end of that one. The Magic Kingdom one's tough.
Yeah.
It could be a number of different things. You get to Animal Kingdom, and those are the two I think were the correct, in my opinion, for the final two, is is Expedition Everest and Flight of Passage.
Yeah.
And they were close. And I mean, we're going to see what happens next week. I'm curious
Hollywood
what
Studios
makes
is
it
gonna
to
be
the
interesting,
end.
yeah.
Well, there's some rides here that are like big time rides.
Yes, there are.
And then there's people like my co-host here who has a love-hate relationship with some people's favorite ride. What way is Nick going to vote? Is Nick going to vote that he thinks Rise of the Resistance could win the whole thing, or does it not?
It depends on
because
it depends
it
on
can't
the
function.
depends on the matchup, man.
Right.
It really does, because
I'm really curious.
I don't know that. I think next week's is going to be a tough one.
Yeah,
I really do.
I do too.
Hollywood Studios is a tough park. It's my, I'm not shy about it. Hollywood Studios is my least favorite park.
We get messages and in-person conversations about that all the time too.
But at the same time, it has some of my favorite rides, which is weird, right? It's just the park itself just bugs me. It's not laid out well.
Yeah.
It's not like every other park I feel is somewhat cyclical, or not cyclical, circular, I guess, where you can loop. You can't loop, and you have to walk all the way out and then back and then out and then.
I cannot wait for you to go to California Adventure.
Okay.
Because
it's what Hollywood Studios should be.
Correct.
Yeah.
You said it exactly right. But once you go on that trip, that's going to be a fantastic conversation just to hear.
Yeah.
Well, be able to go back and forth and say our thoughts on that place specifically. Mm-hmm. I loved it.
Yeah.
I just loved it. And if I rank all of the parks and all the Disney parks that are in the states that I have been to, California Adventure ranks higher. It has awesome rides, and the environment at California Adventure is, just like you said, what Hollywood Studios should be.
Well, Hollywood Studios is next week. This week we did talk about Epcot, and you guys, I think, got it right. You crowned Cosmic Rewind the champion.
Yep.
We have one more week of this, and then what we're going to do is post a poll after this week. So this week, I still want you to make sure you're headed to our Instagram stories and voting all along for Hollywood Studios. But when we are done with that, it's going to be the granddaddy of them all. We're going to run a championship, and that championship one is going to be the show opening for episode 92. I'm telling you right now, it's coming. It's going to be interesting because there's some. I mean, the best in each park, and let's see how it goes. And you're gonna see demographics play a role here. You're gonna see. I mean, it's gonna be tough for people to choose. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I know what I'm gonna choose, but I want to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But I only get one vote.
Yeah,
I'm the host. I still get one. You're the host. You still get one.
We try to balance each other out, but sometimes we both vote the same way. In the end, none of these results have been swayed by us in the end, because we've had amazing turnout, which I did want to thank everybody for.
Yeah.
And please, please, please keep reaching out and telling us things. I do want to mention something.
Yep.
Because
the other bracket we're in.
Oh, yeah, we are.
I thought you were going to talk about that too.
No, we're in so if we're still in that bracket, please go to our stories and vote for us over at Beyond the Rails podcast. Beyond the Railroad podcast is the name of the account, and you can vote for us over there in a podcast battle. No, what I wanted to mention was I love getting messages, and Rob's like, we should read some of these.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to read one from one of our longtime patrons, Jessica, and she says, "Happy Saint." So we're recording. It's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And literally, as I was sitting down, I got a buzz that I had a message from a patron, and it says, "Happy St. Patrick's Day. Heading to the luckiest place on earth for my first ever girls' trip to Disney. Please look out for the news about middle-aged women getting in trouble drinking around the world. It might be me." And sent a picture. And I was like, I sent back. I said, we can pull together some funds for bail. So I hope she's having some fun down there, and I hope you guys like hearing these comments. We're actually going to be reading more of them, I think, more frequently on the air, because I think they're fun and it's a good way to interact. So if you have a message for us, and maybe we'll read it on the air if it's funny enough.
Cool.
I don't know. But thank you very much for tuning in and for voting. Keep doing that. You can support us at magicmerch.art, and you can also go to patreon.com/DizlessPod, where you can get early access to new episodes, as well as bonus content that we have available there. And actually, you get a sales code for magicmerch.art there too. So
cool.
that's something, another bonus of being a patron. But thank you very much. It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.